This is it, man. The reveal vlog for my Avengers Age of Ultron upgraded custom minifigures is officially happening, and I am here to do this vlog. Finally, the film is literally coming out tomorrow night here in the US, and my showtime is going to be at 7:30 at an IMAX theater, and the main one I wanted to go to was sold out, but I cannot believe Avengers 2 is tomorrow. The sequel to the Avengers, where it's already 3 years later. It's like, I've said this before, but it's all so hard to process that this is actually happening, but this is the reveal vlog. I'm going to be showing you guys all of the showcased minifigures, and I say showcased because I already recorded the actual segments with them in it, and I'm going to be talking about each minifigure throughout this vlog, and some things I actually forgot to mention in the showcase video, and toward the end I'll even be giving you guys a look at my Daredevil and War Machine, who I've already made progress on after I made a little bit of progress recording, and I'll also be giving you guys a look at the Hulkbuster, which was fully built by Lego Hulk, and that thing is awesome, and that'll be in the showcase too. Still have to record its segments, but yeah, that'll be later in the vlog too. It's gonna be a pretty massive vlog, so try to stick around, man. And yeah, so starting off, we've got the Mark 43 suit, and this is the first time I made an Iron Man suit since Iron Man 3, and you can see that I did use the AMA torso armor for him this time around, and the only thing on this minifigure that's actually from the Lego group would be these the printed legs on the front there. Everything else was fully painted by me, and while you guys have seen me make Iron Man suits before, I think what's the best part about this Iron Man suit is that I actually painted in a newly designed HUD, and you can see that right there. I think this HUD is definitely my best one to date. If you guys saw my the ones that I made back in like it was 2 years ago now for Iron Man 3, if I can pull out the minifigure here, you can see the HUD design that I used back then was pretty horrendous in comparison. It's pretty pathetic. So that's a new thing that will be shown in the showcase video with the Mark 43, but this is the first figure that I actually started on for my Avengers 2 customs, and believe it or not, it somehow ended up being the last one that I finished. And so I finished him on the 27th of like a couple days ago practically, and so he's done now, and they're all done, thankfully. So I've been working on the Avengers 2 customs for like 6 weeks now, and then Captain America, who I have to say turned out amazing, and he was one of the first ones I finished. Actually, you can see I reused the flash cowl. I painted on the Avengers symbols on his shoulder. He's got the same sort of battle damage shield that I've done in the past, and the only thing that's a Lego groups on this figure is the torso design, and the back of the torso itself. Of course, the printing is also Lego groups, but I mean, all I did too was just add on a few different shades of blue of my own, and you can see it made for one hell of a Captain America minifigure, and I can't wait for you guys to see it in its entirety in the actual video. And so I remember when I first saw the blurry set photos last summer when they first started filming Age of Ultron, and I was like, oh no, the suit looks crappy and nowhere near as good as the Winter Soldier suit, but then it turned out to be the best Captain America suit that he has ever had in the MCU, Chris Evans, and then he also has painted tiny tactical glove tops, man. So yeah, Captain America, and then next up, of course, Thor. And Thor has a breakthrough army hammer, which I swapped out for Legos because honestly, at the end of the day, the Lego group, they just can't make a Thor minifigure. They failed to fix the hair. The printing, the color of his beard in comparison to the hair color is just totally off, and so many problems with the new Thor that I tried to fix here by fully painting my own pair of legs, and that includes the incredibly time-consuming chainmail, and like I said, the breakthrough army hammer, which is amazing for this minifigure. So glad I was finally able to use it. He actually also has a pair of painted gunmetal tiny tactical glove tops, and I used the Qui-Gon hairpiece because, believe it or not, it's actually fairly accurate to the hairstyle that Chris Evans has been sporting since Thor: The Dark World. And then also on Thor, I do have the Eclipse Graphics muscle arms. Originally, I was going to do the chainmail arms and fully paint some chainmail arms just like the way you see it on the legs there, but instead, I decided that Thor is sleeveless pretty much the whole film, it seems like. In only a few scenes does he actually have the chainmail arms, so I decided that I would do this and use Victor from Eclipse Graphics, his printed arms, and then paint the gauntlets onto those, and it turned out really awesome, and I'm super glad. This is, I mean, when you compare my Avengers figures now, my Age of Ultron figures, to the figures that I made for the first Avengers film, it's like, wow, 3 years. It is quite a difference. And then next up, Black Widow. Black Widow is I have to say, this minifigure turned out to be exactly what I was hoping for. Originally, I was having some problems painting the face, but then finally, when I got it, this time, like I think it was like the second or third attempt that I got it, and I think it ended up looking just like Scarlett Johansson. The hairpiece I repainted. You would think that her torso is actually printed by the Lego Group, but it's actually my own painted torso. The same can be said for the back of the torso. I actually painted all of this onto an area-like curved torso. You can see that curve right there, and I do this for all my female minifigures because it just adds a nice level of realism, and it's something that the Lego Group could do if they really wanted to, but they don't. So it's just really cool to do, and I do that for my female minifigures, and I did it for Black Widow, and I also did it for Scarlet Witch. But I like the design that Lego has going for their Age of Ultron Black Widow, so I pretty much just based my design off of that when painting it. And then the arms, while they're fairly simple, you can see they do have three-dimensional elements with what they refer to in the film as Black Widow's bite, and so she's got both of those gauntlets, also having tiny tactical glove tops, and she even has the I guess you could say electro staffs, the electric batons, whatever you call them. I mean, you Europeans could tell me in the comments to use some spoiler tags if there's anything spoiler related to finding out what the name of these things are. But yeah, so there's those, and painting those was really tedious, I have to say, because when you're painting straight lines like that around a round surface, it's pretty insane, and it was relatively difficult to do. And I really love the way the elbow pads turned out. If you can kind of see those, they turned out amazing on Black Widow. And then her legs have very minimal detail because really I stared at reference pictures. I always stare at reference pictures for every figure I'm making, and I didn't see anything that needed to be painted on her legs, really, so that's why her legs have minimal detail, because there's really not much for me to paint at all, man. But the next figure that I did make, of course, Hawkeye, who I have to say, Hawkeye has the most accessories out of all my Age of Ultron customs, and the only thing that I didn't make here was the face. And while I said, I know, in a few vlogs, I said I was gonna paint Hawkeye his own face, but I decided against it last minute because it turned out I tried several times to paint a Jeremy Renner face, and it just ended up looking like Chris Evans every single time. So I was like, all right, I'm done. And I honestly think their face actually looks pretty good. The more and more I looked at it, the more and more it grew on me, and that's why I kept it with my figure. I did add on a couple little marks on the face, but barely anything. You can see I did use a modified Brick Warriors quiver for Hawkeye. I sanded off all the laces that he had that Ryan molds onto each design, or I guess, you know, each quiver as part of the design. And so I painted as much as I could onto Hawkeye's overly complex bow, or quiver, damn it, words, I'm starting to mix them up. And I also have some, he even has tiny tactical glove tops. I am obsessed with them. I know I use them a lot, but they just look so damn good on minifigures. And so I also have the Brickforge recurve bow with a couple of square bits glued on to make it more accurate to the real one in the film. I also have a thread running through the bow, like I usually do for bows from Brickforge. And then also, speaking of Brickforge, this is actually a Brickforge arrow as well, so I painted the arrowhead on that silver, and I absolutely love the way the arms turned out for Hawkeye here. And then if you guys are wondering what the trench coat is, this is actually a Cape Madness modified trench coat. I cut it up and then painted it to look accurate to the one that he will be sporting in, I guess, like the snow scenes or some of the scenes where they're in, I think it was Korea in the film. I don't know. I mean, I haven't actually seen it yet, of course, but yeah, then you can see I have a ton of detail painted on his boots as well. So this whole vlog is like kind of like my opportunity to really talk about these minifigures in depth, because in the showcase I only had a minute and a half to talk about each one because there's 10, and so I have to pack in all 10 minifigures, the Hulkbuster, the skits, the intro, the outro, and try to keep it under 30 minutes. So I'm only able to talk about each minifigure for a minute and a half in the actual video. So next up we have Scarlet Witch, and Scarlet Witch, like I said, she has the same treatment as Black Widow. So if I can go ahead and you can stare at my ceiling for a second, you can see that I did the same thing with Black Widow, and I fully painted the same design the Lego Group uses for their torso onto an area-like curved torso, because I do like their design, but it needed to be on an area-like curved torso, so I fully painted it onto one, and also the minimal detail that she has on the back of her torso. And then I swapped out Lego's Total BS blue Chima pieces for some transparent pink discs with the red studs, attaching them to her hands to kind of at least look somewhat like her abilities in the film. And then also I did paint her face as well, and a lot of you guys, some of you guys anyway, said that the mouth was painted too far down, and I mean, if you look at it there, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to actually see that, and in real life, or maybe even in the showcase will make it easier for you guys to see, but it honestly looks fine. And so, I mean, that's not me being biased. I literally can't tell if that's actually the case or not, because I personally think it looks just fine. And then she also has the tiny tactile glove tops as well, and also I fixed the skin tone problem that we saw on her knees, and then I wrapped not only the skin tone, but the wrinkles as well, like the creases in her clothing, all the way around all four sides of her legs, to make for one hell of a Scarlet Witch minifigure portrayed by Elizabeth Olsen. can't wait to see her debut in the film. And also, I gave her the changed hairpiece, of course, which is, it was used on like the Mermaids and like the Pirates of the Caribbean sets, for instance, but this was definitely the obvious choice for Scarlet Witch. No idea why LEGO elected not to use it, but I used it on my minifigure, and that is Scarlet Witch Man. And then Quicksilver, who unfortunately I've heard the most spoilers for, thanks to some real jerks on Instagram. It's like Marvel releases these films for you guys early. It's like, God, and so ruining it for people like us who don't get it until a week later, it's just flat out obnoxious. And so a lot of the movie is already ruined for me. To the fates of two major characters have already been wrecked for me. So if you guys, I have to say, I advise you right now, do not read the comments. I wish I would have said it at the start of the video, but I really hope you didn't just scroll down throughout this video, because odds are there's some jackass in the comments writing spoilers. And so Quicksilver, you can see I did elect myself to keep the Lego torso, and that was for one reason and one reason alone, and that was to keep the mesh pattern that you see all over the design there, because it looks so good. And while, yes, I could have painted that, I could have, it's just, it would have been so time consuming, so difficult, and so tedious. It was just something I figured I would just, I would not, I don't want to say like put off or like cast to the side, as I mean, it's, and I feel like sacrifice would be a strong word too, but I just decided I would keep this color torso and stick with it, and then paint on the accurate details onto his arms, on both arms, and then fully paint a pair of legs for Quicksilver, including all those little arrows you see wrapping around the front and sides of the legs. And then I also have a little bit of green right there to make it accurate to the shoes that he's wearing in the film. And then one thing that I actually knew I was going to be doing for Quicksilver right from the get-go, from the first time we saw Aaron Taylor Johnson on set, was I was going to reuse the Luke Skywalker hairpiece, but paint it in white, because honestly the skater style hairpiece that Quicksilver has in the set, while I understand why LEGO might have decided to use that, just doesn't work for me. I don't think it's accurate looking, but I feel like the Luke Skywalker hairpiece definitely is. So that's why I decided to use that for that minifigure. And then also, finally, we're going to take a look at Vision Man, because I know a lot of you guys are really excited to see this one, and I think Vision turned out to be fantastic. You can see I said this in the review, I really do like what LEGO did for the design on the Vision. I really do. But they printed it onto a sand green torso and a sand green pair of legs, so I took it upon myself to pretty much base my design off of theirs, but by painting all of it onto dark green parts, which I think looks way more accurate and just generally much better. And unfortunately, one thing about the Vision that I found out way too late in the game was that the cape is apparently primarily gold in the film, according to what you Europeans out there who have told me, or and any of you guys who have seen the film in general. I know some of you guys in the US have already seen it. He has tiny tactical glove tops, by the way. It's like, I can't stop using them. They're painted, by the way, in the magenta color that he has. And so I found out that the cape is apparently a primary gold color, but I've used the tan as the primary color for Vision's cape, but I have tons and tons of gold designs, as you can see, to kind of make up for it and balance it all out. And that is actually painted on both sides, by the way. And I did use LEGO's Vision head because I really did like the design. I absolutely loved their face design. And so I pretty much took it upon myself to just paint all of the details wrapping around the head like LEGO couldn't do, of course. And so I think it made for one hell of a Vision minifigure, and I hear the Vision is one of the best parts of the film. I've been really excited to finally see Paul Bettany suit up as the Vision. I heard it was amazing on set. I heard amazing things leading up to this. I remember when it was first announced by Joss Whedon, and it's like, I made my minifigure, he's gonna be in the film, apparently he's awesome, can't wait to see it. And so that's the Vision. And finally, for our final Avenger, we have Hulk. And I should show you actually real quick before I continue, this was the first version of the Vision's cape before I had to redo it. And as you can see, this is why I had to redo it, because it was really too simple and just generally not accurate. So there's that disclaimer, if you can really consider that a disclaimer. Next up we have Hulk, who is actually fairly simple, but it was quite a bit of effort to make him look the way it does. And if I can actually go ahead real quick and pull him out of the bag here, I do have an extra Hulk here just to give you guys like a comparison as to what it looked like before and what it looks like after. So you can see the difference from what it looked like coming right out of this box to my custom version of the Hulk with the black wash spread all over it and the recolored pants. And you can see the the pants actually have the same black wash on them as well to make them look weathered and consistent with the rest of the Big Fig. And so this is my first custom Big Fig, and while it wasn't fully custom, it was just a black wash that I put over the thing and repainted the pants, it was still pretty interesting for me to finally customize the big fig. And the black wash that I had on the Hulk to make him look more realistic and more like the Mark Ruffalo Hulk in the film, it was really, really heavy, the black wash in some areas. So what I did was I toned it down with more olive green paint, and it just made it look 10 times better. And I eventually just kept toning down the black wash until I finally got to a product that I thought looked close enough to the Mark Ruffalo Hulk that I would keep it and keep with it, man. So yeah, sorry about the cutoff there, by the way. My phone, I think I accidentally touched the record button. That happens from time to time, or at least when I record for an extended period of time. So yeah, that happened. But finally, for the final minifigure, I have Ultron in his entirety. I can't believe I've actually made this minifigure already. I remember when this movie was announced and people were just making fan art, not even knowing what he had looked like in the movie. And here is my minifigure. And the number one thing that I know that kind of keeps some of you guys split, or at least has stirred up some controversy, is I use Toy Story arms and legs for this minifigure, and I have no regrets. I fully understand why this might throw some of you off, and why I think, I've heard a lot from a lot of people that the torso is a little bit too small looking. But I mean, previously I've used the concept on Groot for my Guardians of the Galaxy minifigures last year. I also used it on the Arbiter from Halo, the Master Chief collection, and so I decided I would carry the concept over onto Ultron here, because in the film, he's 8 feet tall, and compared to Tony Stark, when he's in an Iron Man suit, he's about 6 feet tall. Black Widow, she's about 5'6". I couldn't have my Ultron minifigure be shorter than her. So I pretty much only had one option, and that option was to make this minifigure utilizing Toy Story arms and legs, and that's what I did here, and I think it turned out great personally. And I try to, take in everybody's opinions and look at the minifigure from your perspectives, and I've stared at this minifigure for extended periods of time, just trying to see that problem for myself. But personally, I really am proud of this minifigure and everything I painted onto it. I painted everything on Ultron except for the torso, and like I said, I could not be more proud of the way all of this turned out. And so you can see I also did repaint the eyes to look more like Ultron in the film, because I think the minifigure eyes on Ultron that the LEGO group did for their Hulkbuster set was just generally, it was okay, but it just didn't capture the feel and the personality that Ultron conveys in the film. So I repainted the eyes in the correct shape, or at least what I consider to be the correct shape, and you get the idea. I repainted the eyes, and I think they look tremendously better. And the detail that I painted onto Ultron is almost like that of Groot, to the extent of there's just so much. You look at Ultron's body, and there's just an incredible amount of detail on him. So I did my best to paint on as much of it as I possibly could, and I think it turned out really sweet. And I even have the same design that you see on the sides of the legs painted on the sides that are less visible. And yes, I know there's blue on the bottom of the feet, but you guys have to understand, for those of you who don't understand, if I were to paint the bottom of the feet, which I very easily could, and then seal it over, it would still come right off if I keep putting it on minifigure bases, or if I keep attaching the minifigure to studs. So I never paint the bottom halves, or the bottom parts of minifigures' feet ever on any of my minifigures. So Ultron Prime, I should mention, this is not Ultimate Ultron that we see at the end of the film. This is Ultron Prime, and I'm personally, I am proud of this minifigure. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, but there was really no other route for me to go with making Ultron Prime, and that's why I am really proud of it and everything I've painted onto it. So, Ultron, and finally, all of the minifigures. That's literally all of them. And now I'm going to go ahead and head back to the studio where I was doing some recording earlier, where I was actually going to be recording the Hulkbuster segments pretty soon. And the reason I don't take you guys back here very often is quite simply because, as you guys might still be aware, I've been living, my entire family, at least not my dad at this point, he actually went to Asheville here in North Carolina. We have all been living in my aunt's house, and so there's really not a lot to see in here. It's actually a pretty horrendous looking room. So this is where I do all my videos though, and it's not as accessible as it once was, so I don't really come back here very often in vlogs. But I am recording the Hulkbuster segments very, very soon, and this is the Hulkbuster in its entirety fully built by Legoholic, and this has actually stirred up quite a bit of controversy by itself, and I can fully understand why, guys, just for those of you who might have been one of the people who said, some controversial things on the photos that I posted of this. And so you can see, though, as long as I'm giving you a good look here, hopefully I am I? It's kind of a good angle. Hopefully I can't actually really see myself. But yeah, you can see that the Hulkbuster here, the number one thing that we went for, Tyler and I, or at least the one thing that I suggested to him before he built this, was that I needed to have the Hulkbuster be to scale, because the Hulkbuster is about 11 feet tall and the Hulk is 8.5 feet tall. So actually, let's run all the way back. I'm going to grab the Hulk Big Fig real quick, but I guess while I do so, I can explain to you guys that the thing about making the Hulkbuster was, while keeping it to scale and also being able to seat a minifigure inside, that kind of interfered with getting the proportions right, I would assume. I mean, I don't have Tyler himself to actually comment on it, but you can see that it actually, proportionally, it could have been better in some ways, but the thing is, like I was saying, keeping it to scale while also being able to see the minifigure inside, while also keeping the Hulkbuster dome that the LEGO group actually used on theirs. This was the end result, and this is what it ended up looking like, and I am personally really happy with the way it looks. And same instance as with Ultron, I look at this and I try to look at it without being biased, and I am still really proud of what he was able to achieve, and I'm just really proud that I'm able to actually feature this in my video, and being able to collaborate with Tyler once again to make something of this caliber was just really exciting, and I think that this turned out really awesome, and pairing it up next to the Rhino is also really cool. But back on the subject of scale, taking the Hulk here and comparing him, you can see 8.5 feet tall, 11 feet tall. That works. You can pretty much see that working. And the thing is, when it comes to the LEGO Group's Hulkbuster, scale was just completely out the window, and proportions kind of were too. And so, but playability wise, I fully understand why LEGO Groups looks the way it does. I really hope I'm not giving you guys a bad camera angle right now, because I can't see what I'm showing you, but yeah, the Hulkbuster, I did actually add on a few painted details, which personally I don't think can compare to everything Tyler did to make this happen. You can see, though, I did paint on the arc reactor and all the detail on that. I painted on these 1x2 tiles here and here on both arms, and I even painted the detail on these slopes here and here on both shoulders, and then on this slope right here for some added detail to really make this thing come full circle, even more so than it already was when Tyler shipped it out to me. And you can see it does actually seat a standard Mark 43 or any Iron Man minifigure in general, and it looks really awesome inside there. But the problem being, and once again, this was something that happened when trying to keep this thing to scale, is unfortunately when Tyler was building this, it ended up being not able to actually seat the Mark 43 custom minifigure that I made with the Amazing Armory torso piece. So pretty much it cannot fit my custom minifigure, kind of like the Rhino was able to with my LXC Sitsevich, but it still is really fantastic, and that's just one thing that we ended up having to sacrifice. And as a matter of fact, I even suggested to Tyler that it would be okay if you had to sacrifice being able to see a minifigure inside in general. So when he was able to actually still keep a minifigure inside the Hulkbuster while also keeping this amount of articulation, it's 19 points of articulation, 13 if you exclude the fingers on each hand. It turned out really fantastic, and I could not turn down the design that he presented me with when he was still able to keep the minifigure inside while also retaining this much articulation. So yeah, looking at it though, you can pretty much see all the hinges and everywhere that it is articulated, and I think it turned out really fantastic. And I'm going to be recording its segments later tonight, and I cannot wait for you guys to see it in the actual showcase video in its entirety, and all of its poses and everything else that I was just talking about right there. So yeah, I really hope you're able to see that, because like I said, I couldn't actually see what I was showing you. But yeah, so going to be doing that. I'm kind of going out of my mind recording tonight because I've only recorded the minifigure segments. I still have yet to do the intro, the outro, the Hulkbuster segments, the skits. It's kind of maddening because at the time I'm recording this, it's actually about 1 in the morning, and so I'm not posting this video until like late this afternoon, and so by the time you will have seen this, I will have been recording for quite some time. But oh my god, holy shit. I think I'm finally done showing you guys everything that's going to be featured in my Avengers Age of Ultron showcase video, and I'm freaking ready for this crap. It's gonna be amazing. The sequel to Avengers, I can't believe we're already here. It's insane. In Star Wars Episode 7, is in 8 months. Kill me. How is this happening? It's insane. But as promised, I will be giving you guys a quick look at Daredevil and the War Machine. And I know War Machine is playing a significant role in Age of Ultron. It's just, they didn't reveal that to us until a few TV spots recently. So I would have had War Machine, there would have been 11 minifigures instead of 10 in the video if I had known War Machine was going to be showing up in the film with the same exact Iron Man suit that Hot Toys actually made back when Iron Man 3 came out. And when I say Iron Man suit, I mean his War Machine suit. But yeah, War Machine progress. There he is. Barely anything. I know. It's kind of underwhelming. And trust me, this is practically a blank slate. It's just the helmet and the torso armor and the gun. There's nothing else. No detail, no emblems, no nothing. There's not even, the HUD isn't even painted in there yet. This is just a raw start on War Machine, and I cannot wait to keep working on him once I finish this showcase video. And yeah, speaking of things I have to do to finish the showcase video, I also have to design the thumbnail, which is kind of a big part of that. So I'm going to be doing that. And then also one other thing, as promised, Daredevil. This is what I have on Daredevil with these I have the horns sculpted onto the flash cowl already. That's something I did yesterday. And if I can work on this and paint the mouth at least, you might see him from like a side angle during one of the skits in my Age of Ultron showcase. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments of the sculpted horns. Like, I genuinely want to know what you guys think. I think they turned out really awesome personally. And yeah, but now this is, of course, this is even, I would have to say, this is even more of a blank slate than War Machine. There's going to be so much more painted on Daredevil, you have no idea. So just let me know what you think of the horns, though. Seriously, let me know in the comments. I'd like to hear you guys' opinions if you stuck around at the end, toward the end of this video. But yeah, so one other thing that I want to show you, man, is the final Age of Ultron photo with all of the figures lined up, all 10 of them. There they are. That is all 10 of my Age of Ultron minifigures in their glory, photographed by yours truly, man. And that photo turned out awesome. As a matter of fact, all of the photos that I've been doing for Avengers Age of Ultron, I think, have turned out pretty sweet. As a matter of fact, I just want to give you guys a quick look at some of the things you might be missing out on if you don't actually check out my Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram on a regular basis. And these are just like a few photos that I post. This was the one of the Hulkbuster. This is the one of Ultron standing amongst all the dead Avengers. These are photos that I take myself and edit together in Photoshop all the time, and I've made a ton of these for the film, and you can see that they all turned out pretty sweet, actually. So yeah, all of that you can look forward to. I have to say that one right there, though, has to be some of the best editing I think I've ever done in my YouTube career. I'm really, really proud of my recreation of the main cover art for the film, so you can see that right there as well, along with the other random crap I had on my desk right there. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up, though. So once I'm done with this video, this showcase video, I will be working on the Atom once again from Arrow, and I will be working on Ahsoka as well from Star Wars Rebels Season 2 and I guess the end of Season 1. But yeah, speaking of The Flash, I've been watching that along with Arrow, and both shows, now that we're really close to the season finales, have really, really picked up, and it's kind of weird to picture a life after Age of Ultron. Like the next episode of The Flash, the next episode of Arrow, and all the shows that we watch are going to be after I will have seen Age of Ultron like 3 times. And by the way, I'm actually going to see Age of Ultron with Pugnacious 10 on Friday. So after the Thursday 7:30 show time, I'm going with him the next day on Friday. So there's a lot going on for me in this week. I'm trying to juggle it all. It's going to be really difficult because this is the biggest showcase video I've ever attempted as in my entire YouTube career. So doing the entire thing right now, tonight and tomorrow, it's quite, I don't want to call it a burden, but it's a major challenge for me time-wise, because as you guys know, living in my aunt's house, I really can't like sleep on a regular schedule, so I get woken up a lot, and then I'm tired when I really need to be recording, and it can be insane. But I mean, that's just like a small portion of everything that happens when recording these showcase videos. But yeah, so let me know what you guys think of all the minifigures down in the comments below, especially Ultron, the Hulkbuster, and Daredevil's horns. Want to hear your guys' opinions. But yeah, once again, hopefully you guys aren't going to be reading any spoilers down in the comments. I really hope you didn't look in the comments, because there probably were spoilers. I'll try to remove them as they show up. But if you leave a spoiler down in the comment section, you're going to get the comment removed, and then I'm going to freaking block your ass, because it's obnoxious and not fair to those of us who can't see the film as fast as you guys can, because Marvel, for whatever reason, releases their films over in your countries before they release them here in the US. So Aside from that, though, guys, I think that's pretty much it for my reveal vlog for Avengers Age of Ultron, the sequel to the beloved team-up film from 2012 that really got me started with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I absolutely cannot wait to see everything this film has to offer. There is so much that is going to be happening in this film, especially with James Spader's performance as Ultron, and seeing the the lead up into Captain America: Civil War. Hawkeye here has a major role in the film, I would assume, because of course I would assume Joss Whedon regrets having him under Loki's mind control practically throughout the entirety of the Avengers, aside from the final battle. And sorry about the cutoff there as well. My phone is not exactly coping well with like a half an hour vlog. This is not only the biggest showcase video I've ever done, but this is the biggest vlog I've ever done. So how about that, man? Biggest vlog on MGF Extra. And yeah, there's going to be a dynamic between Black Widow and the Hulk, which we've never expected, or at least I never expected that's going to be in this film. I mean, Paul Bettany as the Vision, I hear, is one of the best parts of the film, if not the best. I just hear that these two are just amazing in the film. Both of those actors apparently did a great job. I hear this entire film is amazing. Can't wait to see what it sets up, especially with Ulysses Claw, who's in the film. That's not really a spoiler. That was confirmed by Marvel themselves, the Black Panther villain. I mean, there's so much that I hope is set up with this film. I can't wait to see what the post-credits, not the post-credits, the mid-credit scene is. It's not a post-credit scene because Joss Whedon and Kevin Feige, they said to themselves, there's nothing we can do to beat that shawarma scene, so they just didn't do anything at all, which kind of sucks. I really would have hoped they could have come up with something and put something at the end, because it's like, we're only going to have like 2 more Avengers films. There's only going to be 4 Avengers films with these same actors, so it's like, you want to make the most out of it, and it kind of sucks that we're not going to get a post-credit scene for the second Avengers film. I hear it's much darker. I hear it's really, at the end of the day, not as fun as the first Avengers film, but I'm not expecting a film with Ultron to be fun like the first Avengers film was. I don't know. But Avengers Age of Ultron is tomorrow at 7:30, and I'm going to spend the rest of my night recording a showcase video, working on the video, editing everything together. It's going to be one hell of a night and one hell of a day tomorrow. Got a lot ahead of me, and thank you for sticking around throughout the entirety of this vlog. If you did, I really appreciate it. Drop it a like below, man, and I'll see you later. All right. Bye.